So welcome everyone. It's the last webinar for our Tuesday Talk series this summer. I'm super excited to have you guys back. So nice to have some familiar faces and also some new people join us as well. And yeah, this will be the first part of the series, which is debunking misconceptions about university and post-secondary. So let's just get right into it. So before we get started, we just want to give a shout out to Pearson Canada for sponsoring this Tuesday Talk series. They have a lot of useful digital study tools and resources you'll use during your first and second year. So make sure you follow them on Instagram or Facebook to get study advice, university and college tips from other students, join their student community, and enter in their textbook giveaways. And like I can even speak for this myself as a business student. We've like Pearson textbooks have been pretty familiar throughout the first 2 years of university. So definitely check them out for a lot of great resources. So before I kind of dive into the agenda, just a few housekeeping items and reminders. So first, please keep yourself muted so that we can all hear all the panelists clearly. Second, we will be recording this segment of the panel. So if you have any issues with that, please feel free to contact us later. And lastly, if you have any questions throughout the panel, feel free to drop them into the chat box. The panelists will try their best to answer the questions. If not, there's also going to be a Q&A at the very end to ask questions as well. So keep that in mind. And quickly going through the agenda for today, we're just going to do a quick overview of LEAP and our summer programs, go through the panel. We'll introduce the panelists, of course, go through the panel, and then end off with a Q&A. So quickly, just going over LEAP, we're a Canadian registered nonprofit and student-run organization started last summer, and we really aim to bridge the gap between high school and post-secondary education while helping you leap into the future. And we do this through different initiatives, programs, and resources we provide to students. And so far, we've impacted over thousands of students across various countries through these initiatives. So definitely, if you guys want to learn more about us, keep in touch with us. Feel free to check out our website and social media platforms. And quickly, just giving a plug about our summer programming, Pathfinder. And it's an exploratory program for high school students as well as first and second year university students to kind of learn about the different industries and disciplines and to kind of plan for the career path. So it's going to be happening in August over 4 weeks with different panels, workshops, and live presentations to work on. Lots of cash prizes and internship interview opportunities, and we're sponsored by a few major companies. So definitely check it out. It's happening next week. Super, super exciting. It's not too late to register. And with that, let's introduce our panelists for today. So first, let's start off with Chloe. If you can unmute yourself and just do a quick intro.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe. I'm a third-year University of Calgary student studying operations in the Bachelor of Commerce. I'm choosing to do my degree in 5 years, so it's 3 out of 5. And then a little bit about me is I'm currently the Vice President of Community Development with the Commerce Undergrad Society. I'm also Vice President of Corporate Relations for the Operations and Supply Chain Management Association. I'm currently interning in procurement at INCO, which is Alberta Investment Management Corporation. And in my spare time, I really like to play Sims. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Chloe. And then next we have Waylon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Waylon. I'm currently a Bachelor of Arts student at UBC in my 3rd year, I am studying political science now. Right now, I am working as a policy research assistant in the summer for a local student union. In my free time, I like to write newspapers for a student newspaper called the UBC. And in my free time, I like to race people online, see who can type faster.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we have Angelina.
Hey everyone, my name is Angelina. I am a second year life sciences student at McMaster University. So some things about me are I am a McMaster Science representative this year, and I am the new chair of the Connectum project at the Neuroscience Foundation. I also do the graphic design for McMaster, our future of change. Some of my hobbies include are drawing, painting, and listening to true crime podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you, Angelina. And finally, we have Lindsay. Great to see
Hi,
you again.
everyone. Hi, Kaylin. It's good to see you again. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay. I'm going into my second year of Public Affairs and Policy Management at Carleton University, specializing in communication tech and regulation. There's a lot of words going on there. I actually started my university time at Ryerson and have since transferred. So I'm going on my third year university when you get technical about it. I'm the associate managing editor and a writer at Kroger Policy Review. And in my spare time, or in less spare time, it takes up a lot of my time, I'm an actor in musicals and plays. And then in my free time, I'm really into D&D, different TTRPGs, and writing as well. And I also was a PR coordinator for LEAP last year. So I'm very excited to be back.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And as you can see, we have a very diversified set of panelists today. So we'll definitely be able to gain a lot of insights from all of you. So let's just get right into it. We'll be covering academics, socials, mental health, and also finances for this panel. Let's dive right in. So first with academics, the first question is my average going to drop 10% after first year? I know that's a very common misconception, let's just say. So maybe Chloe can first chime in.
Yeah, so I definitely think it depends on how well you kind of adapt to the new university life. A lot of it is kind of self-management, time management. If you maybe want to focus on some other aspects of the university life, like your social life, it is possible your average might drop a little bit, but it's not a set and done. Like you can bring your average up to where it was. Just really depends on how you adapt and how your time management skills are, and they will get better. Like time management skills will improve over time. That's just something you learn. Yeah, that's what I think about it. Waylon?
Yes, so I don't think it doesn't have to happen. Some people maintain their averages, some people improve their averages. But I think what I want to offer is perhaps what you can do to prevent a 10% drop. And I think what I did was to basically think of what you want to do after college. Don't really think of good grades as the goal. Think of perhaps being a doctor or a lawyer, and grades is just the instrument for getting there. So in order to find what your direction, I recommend finding what you're good at, and that thing that you're good at has to be something that you respect as well. And if you can find something that satisfies both of those requirements, then I think you will find college not easy but fulfilling, since you'll be confident in going in a certain direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like time management is definitely number one. And kind of as to what Waylon said, like finding something that what you're interested in would kind of help motivate you to ensure that you're doing well and keeping up with your classes and stuff. So awesome. The next question is studying for university really a self-directed process? And maybe we can start with Waylon this time.
I think it is definitely a self-directed process, but help is there if you're looking for it. I think the difference in high school is that sometimes help comes to you, but here you have to go to the help. So I recommend emailing your instructors for conceptual clarification, but more importantly, clarification for criteria, because that's what determines your mark. Maybe even more than the concept, because in a lot of first year courses, concepts I don't think are super hard to grasp, more so ambiguous criteria. So you want to get that out of the way. And you want to attend office hours, maybe not so much for information for classes, but more so to get to know your professor and make sure you're not just a random face.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Definitely talk to professors. They're super helpful. Chloe, do you want to kind of chime in here?
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything Waylon said. It is very self-directed, but you can find help pretty easily. You can make study groups with your peers. You can go to your office hours. You can go speak to your TAs. Personally, I was a teaching assistant, and I love speaking with my students. And I really like, if they showed that they wanted to learn, I would spend more time with them and kind of help them out in whatever they needed in terms of clarification. So I definitely agree with what Waylon said.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely, like, I think it's kind of on us to be able to go and ask for help, but once we take that first step, like, there's a lot of great individuals, like professors, TAs, other students even, to kind of help us as well. Okay, next question. So, how should I prepare before entering my first year? I think there's a lot of like uncertainties and worries. So maybe if Chloe, you can kind of speak on that first.
Yeah, so preparing before entering your first year can kind of look like various kind of things. So you could start by maybe relearning or at least catching up on some of the material that previously was learned in classes. For those, I would really just, if your class is really very technical, like a calculus course or something that you can't just pick up again, maybe try reviewing the material. But if it's something like English or a language class or less technical, you should be fine just without any review. As well, I strongly suggest, if you're in person, kind of mapping out where your classes are and how to get from one point to the next point. Because I definitely think that really helps with your stress entering in your first day, and will make your kind of transition a little bit easier.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely great tips, especially for first day. And maybe Waylon, just quickly touch on and add anything else that might be missing.
Yeah, basically, just make sure you're ready to focus and maybe to read a lot if you're in liberal arts. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like Chloe pretty much hit it on the money.
Awesome. Okay, thank you both so much. Now we're just gonna shift gears into socials. So, what are some ways to maintain healthy eating habits? I think a lot of people hear about, eating instant noodles, living off of like McDonald's, everything like that. So maybe Angelina can kind of get us started with how giving us some tips there.
So I find that it's really hard, or at least harder for some people to maintain like a healthy eating habit when when you're away from home, because you're away from your family and you're like, oh, I can eat whatever I want. But I would suggest that it's important to eat a balanced meal. Get your proteins, get your greens, and buy your own food from grocery store and make your own meal can also help a lot. As well, I also suggest that you portion your food in order to prevent overeating, and like just try to like not eat more than you can eat.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really solid advice. Lindsay, do you kind of want to chime in as well?
Yeah, so healthy eating is super important, especially in university. You need that energy because you're going to be busy. But that being said, university is full of changes. There's a lot going on. All I can recommend to you is to eat. There might be times when you think a project or an assignment is more important than getting that meal and, being like, oh, I'm hungry, but I already went to the calf. Like, it's not worth it. It is. No matter what, you'll hear about the freshman 15. Nothing is more important than you keeping your body fed and energized. So, make sure that you're going and, you can put off that project for an hour or so to go get a meal. Don't feel bad about it. Things change in university. It's new. Don't get down on yourself for, kind of not really knowing how to go into the world. Just when you're starting out. So don't get down on yourself. Make sure that you're going out to eat. Keep yourself fed. Don't get too hung up about it. But that's what's most important, more so than your academics. It's always you.
Yeah, that's super solid advice from the both of you. Super important to eat, guys. Make sure you're fueling your bodies with good food and healthy foods. And yeah, like I think skipping meals is definitely a big part of it, because that kind of puts you in a cycle of like wanting to eat, random things and whatnot. So definitely try to eat proper meals, and that can kind of feed into like a healthy habit as well. The next question we had was, is it harder to meet and keep friends at university? I think another misconception that people hear about is, you lose some of your high school friends. You guys go to different universities, or maybe just because of the size of the university, you guys are not as close anymore. So maybe like, well, let's have Lindsay kind of touch on that first.
Yeah, so it can be very intimidating, no doubt about it. But I think you can also really look at it as an opportunity. In high school, you're with a lot of the same people because you're probably taking classes that are all, in the same grade level. But when you get to university, you might be taking classes in different faculties. You will have students who might be 18, who might be in their late 20s. And it's just such a diverse experience. So you have so many opportunities to meet so many new people. It's hard for me to meet people. I get it. But honestly, Frosh Week orientation, living on res, all those sort of things, people are so open to meeting new people. So you get involved in extracurriculars. Don't be afraid to say hi to people in your group projects and stuff. And there's a lot of really awesome opportunities to meet a whole lot of new people, probably many more than you met in high school.
Yeah, no, that's definitely for sure. Absolutely. Angelina, do you want to also chime in here?
Yeah, for sure. So I find that when you make friends at high school, it might seem easier because you see the same people at your class every day and you interact with the same people in your class every day. In university, you definitely need to put like slightly more efforts just because of the class size and everything. But I find that there are still many opportunities to meet people and like keep like a really good friendship. Like Lindsay said, there are many opportunities like orientation week, group projects. If your class is mostly online, you can also meet people via group chats. I think that's also like how a lot of people during this first year met like their friends, including myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of touch on that. Like, I think by joining different clubs that you're actually interested in, you'll find people that are like-minded, share the same passion or interest as you. And so that's kind of an easy way to find and meet new friends and meet new people in general. But great points, both of you. And kind of going into the next question. So, how much time do you have to dedicate to hobbies outside of academics? So, some people might think, okay, university is just all about studying. You don't have any time whatsoever to do things that you enjoy doing. So let's hear from Angelina first. So what do you have to say about that?
I would really say it depends on how you manage your workload. If you are like if you're someone who's like a relatively good at managing your workload and everything, you will have a pretty good amount of time to dedicate to hobbies outside of your academics. As well, you will definitely have time to dedicate to like clubs and other extracurriculars and volunteer works that really interest you. I find that most programs in university are not suffocating. You will definitely have your time to find clubs and everything that interests you. So I will say overall, you definitely have time to explore new hobbies and relax, especially during reading week, which is a week where like professors and are not allowed to like assign any assignments or have any evaluations due. I find that a lot of people explore new things during like those breaks.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree, Angelina. Lindsay, I think you also have a few points you might want to touch on as well.
Yeah, so I totally agree with Angelina. I find it does differ from program to program, but I know in my experience, it's almost overwhelming seeing how much free time you have. Because obviously, your university schedule is not going to be that same structured 6-hour day that you have in high school. So you almost look at it and go like, I have more time to myself than I do in class. So obviously make sure that you're spending some of that time doing your work and making sure that you're managing your projects and your assignments and all that stuff that you have to do. But it is really cool to see how much free time you do have available still to look into extracurriculars. I think if you're passionate enough about a hobby, you will find time to do it because it's part of self-care. It's part of something that you enjoy doing. So you'll make time, but also it's cool to try and find extracurriculars that tie into it. Like I love writing, so I joined a policy review, and I love theater. So I've been keeping in touch with local school theater projects and stuff like that. So, you can find a way to both get involved in your school community and still pursue the hobbies and interests that you love.
Yeah, great points, both of you guys. I think like it really depends on, your workload, and also I guess just how much time you're willing to dedicate and to put aside for your hobbies. It's definitely doable. I think we all kind of have done that before. So definitely not to worry. All right, so next we're going to move on to questions more so related to mental health. And so the first question we have here today is like, what was your experience with stress in university? I think another big misconception is like, besides university being like really academic driven, there's going to also be a ton of stress, more stress than high school than you've ever experienced. So maybe Chloe, do you want to get us started on what your thoughts are on about that?
Yeah, so I'm a very stressed out person to begin with. So I was stressed out in high school, I was stressed out in university, but I honestly didn't find that university stress was that much different from high school stress. The main difference was that you need to be on top of your assignments. Nobody's going to be reminding you of anything. You need to do it on your own. Or if they do remind you, it's your classmate like 2 hours before the assignments due. So definitely like write it out on a calendar. And I think that really helps with stress.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's really on you. So I guess if you're on top of everything, it'll kind of help with your stress. But also, Waylon, I don't know if you want to add anything as well.
Yeah, so I feel like stress in university is a lot different. I think, well, I know from my high school, it was really stressful because a lot of people around me were kind of like cutthroat. But in university, it's a lot more isolated. People just kind of mind their own business, and I think the stress just comes from managing all the free time you have. As I think Lindsay said earlier, you have a lot of time, but the syllabi that you'll get in your classes, they'll tell you what's going to happen, and I think it's a lot easier to plan than high school. You already know what's going to happen when tests are, when assignments are. It feels like you're in a lot more control.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess in a nutshell, it's really about like you trying to um try to keep being on top of everything in terms of academics, in terms of your hobbies, and having a good schedule. And that will kind of alleviate some of the stress that arises. And obviously, as things come up, you have your friends, you have resources, you have a lot of people to support you. So it's definitely not something to be overly worried about. Next question. So, do universities have support systems for student mental health? Wayland, do you want to kind of get us started here?
Sure. So some universities will have services. Well, actually, pretty much every university that I've seen has mental health services. But maybe some of their student associations will have mental health services as well. Sometimes both. The student union and the university will have them. I've never been there yet, but I have friends who have gone there. Just give it a look. Some of my friends don't really think it's that good. It seems to be a very popular idea, but it definitely could work for you. Just if you have those problems, just seek them out on your first day, first week of university. Yeah, it should make everything a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely agree. Chloe, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think yeah, exactly what Waylon said. They have services. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, but definitely just check them out and see what they have.
Awesome. Okay, I think that was a pretty straightforward question and answer. And lastly, for the mental health piece, does being in large classes make you feel undervalued? I think that's a very fair assumption. So why don't we start with Chloe? What do you think about this?
I think first impression it might, because you do feel like you're just a person in this big, large classroom, especially first year classes. But I think it's really important to go kind of make a name for yourself. Go see people, go see like your classmates, go talk to your TAs, go talk to your professors, and really make sure that you're more than just a number. As I mentioned earlier, your professors and TAs are more than happy to spend time with you, going through material, getting to know you, that type of thing. You just need to show them that you are making an effort, and that it's not just them kind of holding your hand along the way.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. Waylon, do you want to add in as well?
Yeah, I think you can feel undervalued at first, but I think this kind of ties into the first or second slide that I went on. It's about emailing your professor or your TA. That's going to be a really good way to establish a personal relationship with them. I know a lot of professors and TAs that I've spoken to, they were pretty happy to speak about just about anything. I've spoken to them about not even just class, about maybe about how they got to where they are, their opinions on extracurriculars, which ones they did, which ones they recommend. So you can kind of establish a friendship with your professor. And I think in some ways, I never had that in high school. So I'd say maybe if you reach out to your professors in university, you might feel even more valued than you were in high school.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. Like, I think again, it's really the onus is on you, right, to kind of reach out for and try to make yourself stand out. And I know actually, like a lot of people, are afraid to reach out to professors or TAs or whatnot. But I think they actually love it when students do. So just kind of overcome that initial mental barrier, I guess, and reach out because they're more than happy to speak to students and they love connecting, I guess, on a more deeper level with students as well. Okay, awesome. Thank you both so much. Now we're going to move on to finances. So the first question we got was, what are some misconceptions about student loans and financial aid? So let's start with Angelina.
So I would say that a lot of people tend to think of student loans and financial aids as something that's like extremely hard to pay off. But I would say that most of the time it is definitely manageable. I would recommend getting like a budget tracker that can be like a planner or like an app on your phone. It can just help you become more mindful of your spending. And you can also have like different spending goals for different categories, for example, grocery, shopping, eating out, whatever that might be. And so that prevents you from spending money on things that you might not need in the long run. As well, I would say like reach out to your banks to like learn about your options on saving or opening like bank accounts as a student. I find that they usually provide really helpful information that can like help you become more financially literate.
Yeah, awesome. Really great advice. Lindsay, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm one of those people who hates looking at my bank account because I don't like seeing that my money is being spent. But I will tell you, it's one of the best things to be conscious of what you're doing. I make an Excel spreadsheet of the expenses that I know I'm going to incur. So my tuition, my residence fees, all that kind of stuff, and then what I'm receiving from OSAP or financial aid, and then my contribution. So I have all of those things organized. It's so much better for you to go into university knowing exactly where you stand. Don't be scared of student debt. Pretty much everybody will experience it. And it's just a fact of life. There are ways to handle it. And that's what it's made for. It is made to be paid off. So try not to stress too much about it. Just be responsible in what you do. And definitely reach out to the financial aid office at your university. They might help you find bursaries or scholarships that you don't even know are out there.
Yeah, awesome. I think you guys tackled that question really, really well. And I just like wanted to add, I think another misconception is like, oh, with all these bursaries or financial aid options, it must be super competitive, or like, oh, I'm not going to be qualified or I'm not going to get it. I think a lot of people think like that. And so there's actually a lot of money that's just left kind of unclaimed. So definitely like apply for them and kind of shoot your shot in a sense, because you never know whether or not you're going to be qualified until you actually apply. So go apply. Okay, awesome. Next question. So what to spend your money on and what not to spend your money on? I think we've all kind of, made some good decisions, but also some pretty bad decisions probably at some point in university. So Lindsay, do you want to kind of kick us off with this?
Yeah, sure. So, super exciting. COVID is kind of moving back. I know a lot of people are going to be going to school in person. Super exciting. If you're going to residence, take a look at the packing list. Every school has like a residence do's and don'ts, things to bring, things not to bring. So definitely look at those first. Take a look at what the rooms look like, because I love decor, I love furniture, and there's a huge risk in spending a lot of money on things that won't fit in your room, can't go into your room, aren't allowed in the residence building. Take a look at that and also be realistic on the school supplies you're buying. I'm huge on tech. I love back to school season. But if you're like, oh, I want to buy like a new iPad so I can take notes, but you love pen and paper notes, don't waste that money. Like I'm like, my philosophy is that if it's a good deal, that's great. But if you're still not going to use it, it's not a good deal. So just be conscious about those.
Yep, you got it. Angelina, what about you? What do you think?
I would suggest that like don't buy textbooks until you see the syllabus. or even until the first week of like school, to be honest, because I find that a lot of times like you don't really know what you actually need until like you see the syllabus or when like the course starts. I will also not suggest like to not buy brand new textbooks from a campus store because they're usually like super expensive. If you need to buy textbooks, I would recommend buying like used or secondhand textbooks from like other people that took the course before you. A lot of university or colleges have like Facebook groups where like upper years sell their used textbook. So I would suggest that like explore that if that's where you are looking for. Also access codes. Some courses do require them, some courses don't. The ones that don't really require access codes, they're usually for extra practice. So if you feel that you need an extra practice on the course, I would suggest getting them, because you need a grade. But if you feel that you don't really need a practice and you can get like practice from like other resources, I would suggest like maybe don't waste that money. But yeah, those are my take.
Awesome. Yeah, like I think what Angelina said about kind of seeing whether or not you need to buy a new textbook. There's actually a lot of like online forums or like Facebook groups for each like university or for the class itself that where people are selling like their used textbooks. Just make sure that's kind of what you need, because I know like some profs, they want like the newest edition, so you might waste your money by buying like the older version, but kind of match and see if it's the right one, and you can definitely buy off someone else like an old textbook and it works completely fine. You save a lot of money. And Lindsay's point about like being realistic about your school supplies, everyone sees someone with like the iPad and we're all like, oh my gosh, it looks so cool, like people are drawing, but realistically, like, are you going to use it? So make sure you consider that before making these like pretty big purchases. Okay. Next question, what are some useful student benefits and discounts that students have access to? So let us in on the tea. Why don't we start with Angelina?
So I know that some apps do offer like student discount coupons and other deals. For example, the app Unidays, you can get like 6 months free trial on Amazon Prime. And Student Beans also offer a lot of discounts on like clothing brands and other tech stuff. And I know that like the grocery stores across Ontario offer student discounts on certain days. I hope that's for most Ontario school like cities in Ontario, but I'm not sure because I know that in Hamilton we have grocery stores that offer student discounts on certain days. But yeah, I would say that do try to find ways to save money as a student. Take advantage of when you are in school.
Awesome. Yeah, I didn't even know about some of these, so really, really cool. And like, yeah, like the grocery store, even the one at Western in London, if you go to Western, guys, most of the grocery stores also have like, I think every Tuesday they have student discounts. So all you have to do is just show your student card and you'll get like a percentage off. But Lindsay, what else do you want to add to the list?
Yeah, Microsoft 365. So if you haven't already gotten it through your high school, pretty much every university also has a free Microsoft 365 subscription. So you get Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all those wonderful programs. I also want you guys to know, because I just found out about this year, Bed Bath & Beyond has a 20% student discount until the beginning of September. So if you're getting res stuff, you just sign up as a student and you get that discount on online and in-store purchases. Joseph beat me to it in the chat. The SBC card is great. I'll buy it for like $10 and it'll pay itself off when like I'm spending the rest of my day at the mall immediately. So it's a super great investment. But yeah, I would definitely recommend pursuing all those things. Also keeping a copy of your offer of admission on your phone. A lot of places are very chill about it, but until you have a student ID, it's always good just to have some proof of you being a student in case you run into the store that's like, okay, but can you give me proof of your student ID so I can give you this discount? So it's just a good thing to remember.
Yeah, awesome. And I definitely like the Microsoft 365 subscription. I think a lot of students just go ahead and like, they're like, oh, I need Microsoft for university. And they go ahead and buy the full thing. But no, you do get it for free as a student. So please take advantage of that. It saves a lot of money. You'll definitely use Microsoft at some point. So just keep that in mind, guys. All right, awesome. So I think this pretty much wraps up the formal part of the panel. We have about 10 minutes left for like Q&A just to answer any questions in the chat. So I'm just gonna open up the floor now. Like feel free to drop anything we mentioned. Just we can talk about it right now, and we'll have everyone chime in if they can. But I think I'll start with the first question from, which is, when are we getting uni days if we enter university, specifically Waterloo, this fall? So I think this student was referring to like reading week or any sort of break. Does anyone want to kind of get us started here? Or yeah. Or does anyone want to explain what a reading week is?
I can explain it. So the reading week is basically like a week. It's kind of like a week where you are just having a break from school. Like the professors are not allowed to give you any evaluations or anything due on like that specific week. Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm trying to find the question in the chat.
Yeah, no worries. I think they're just wondering, when are we getting reading week or uni days? I get. Oh, sorry, Angeline, go ahead.
No, sorry. What were you saying? I thought you were like going to expand on something. So
no worries. I can just quickly touch on this question because we do have a lot coming.
Okay.
Or okay. Anyways, in terms of reading week, it usually happens like before any like major exam season or like exams and whatnot. So you just kind of get a week off to study, to read, to catch up. And I think it happens around like twice a year, like twice a school year. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. Is it true that in difficult programs, it is common to get C's even if you got A's in high school? So does anyone want to answer that?
I can jump in on this really quickly. That was my favorite thing my teachers used to tell me in high school, because I'm sure like a lot of you, a huge overachiever. And they're like, Lindsay, don't get comfortable. Those 90s will turn into 60s really quickly in university. And they didn't. So I think if you find a program that you love and that you're genuinely interested in and you're willing to put in the work for it, you will probably see your grades drop. It happens. The university workload is different, but that dramatic A to C really depends on the class you're taking. You might find a ton where you're actually doing better than you were in high school. And there might be the few, it was economics for me, that you do see a little bit lower than what you were used to in high school. But that such a dramatic thing really, really depends on how comfortable you are with the program and how much work you're willing to put into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsay. So we actually have a lot of questions now in the chat. So let's do like a rapid fire kind of Q&A type beat. So the next, we're just gonna have one person answer and then we're gonna move on. Okay, perfect. So the next question was, what are the most common studying misconceptions? So maybe Chloe or Waylon can kind of jump in on this one, and then we can move on to the next.
Yeah, I think the common misconception is that you should study hours after hours, which I strongly disagree with. I think you don't learn anything past like 1 hour. So just take your breaks. And when you take a break, like actually take a break, go do something, get up, leave, come back, and then study again. But definitely make sure that you take your breaks and don't go at it for like 4 hours at a time.
Awesome. I think taking breaks is super important, just as important as studying. So awesome. Next question. Do student loans have an effect on your credit score? Should students open a credit card? Does anyone want to take this question?
Yeah, sure. As far as I know, I'm not a financial expert, they don't start affecting your credit score until you start paying them off. That's going to be your biggest thing. Don't worry about it now. That is just money that's on hold until the repayment process begins. In terms of getting a credit card, if you are prepared and comfortable with getting one, I would recommend it to start building your credit score and do it very sparingly. You know, if you're getting pizza with friends, put it on the credit card and immediately pay it off. These comfortable expenses that you're willing to make and you know you can pay off is a really good way to start building your financial literacy and getting comfortable with credit. But once again, that's a discussion to have with family members, with your bank, and also with yourself to make sure that you're ready for that responsibility, because they can get really dangerous really fast.
Yeah, I think Lindsay tackled it like perfectly. Just start small and kind of work your way up to more, I guess, bigger expenses if you are going to be using a credit card, but just be careful with it. The next question is really interesting. Was there any particular misconceptions that affected your point of view of university? How did this affect your university experience, and how were you able to overcome the misconception and better your experience? I don't know if anyone wants to answer this. Maybe Waylon. Haven't heard from you in a while. No pressure.
I think, yeah, one of the misconceptions was that I had to, the classes are just gonna be really hard and that I'm just gonna drop really crazy. So basically in my first year, I didn't do anything outside of class. So I actually just went to class, went home, studied. That's it. No extracurriculars, no clubs, no jobs, nothing. Kind of regretting it. But yeah, basically, I think I could have just sacrificed like just a tiny smidget of my grades for a more life experience. So I just recommend that. But depending on your goals, do keep your grades up. They're really, really important if you want to be a doctor or lawyer or whatever. Yeah, just keep that in check. But you don't need to go as extreme as I did.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that's something that a lot of people think about, and like they just, they're kind of hesitant to pursue any like ECs, extracurriculars, or hobbies in first year, but there's definitely room for that. It goes back to time management and kind of having a good schedule for yourself. The next question we have is, what are some good methods to take notes during live lectures or recorded lectures? Anyone want to quickly answer that one?
I can take on that one. So like a method that I find really useful is the Cornell note-taking method. So you basically write like the key points, and then you write the summary at the bottom and mark any keywords or diagram like at kind of in a small column at the left of the page. I find that you shouldn't copy like the professor's words per like word per word, because it makes you you're not really absorbing anything on your own that way. So I find that you should like use your own words to make notes, and I think that's like a really good way to take notes during live or recorded lectures.
Yep, that's awesome. And I think, let's see, we can probably do one more question. Let's see. Okay, this is an interesting question. So, when looking for a university to apply to, what are the most important things to look at? So I guess this is for more of our younger audience here. What were some things you guys looked at, or what are some like misconceptions of things you looked at but maybe weren't so important, or vice versa?
Sure, I can hop in, I guess. I think a location is a big thing. This is going to be a place that you'll probably be for the next 4 years at least, maybe even more, depending on job prospects and whatnot. So that's always important. I think really look into the program and what it offers. I think when I transferred to Carleton, I was just in love with the title of my program, and I looked at the course schedule and all the sort of things that they offered, and that was huge for me. I think there's a lot of things around prestige and, wanting to go to a university with the big name. Don't go unless there's a program there that interests you, or else you're just going to not enjoy your university experience.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Like, I think a lot of people try to like go for like the prestige or the name of the school or the program, but really figure out if it's a program right for you, if you like the environment, all of that stuff, the location, maybe the tuition, all those things are really important to consider. But I think we're kind of running tight on time. Lots of great questions on the chat. Hopefully some of these I think they can be answered in like some of the previous panels we've had, so definitely go check them out if you're curious.